All right. Last week or 2 weeks ago, we talked about identifying our stress and stress eating. So today we're going to discuss, well, once you identify it, then what do you do with that? So I have this information of what's happening. Now, what am I going to do once I get there? But before we get into that, we got a few things we're going to talk about that are coming up. So, Tina, what you got? What's coming up?
So our Nutrition Summit starts March 3rd. We have a lot of signups. I don't know the number exactly, but I'm going to use the word a lot because I know it's going well.
We had, as of last night, we had 23.
Awesome. So 23 people already signed up to get this information, this course summit. That's going to be a 6-week course that starts March 3rd. We've been linking the registration, so make sure to get signed up. Because there's going to be a lot of things in here you don't want to miss, right, Josh?
Absolutely.
And then the other thing I want to remind everybody about is our St. Patty's Scavenger Hunt is coming up on March 22nd. Oh, yep, I got my shirt on too.
Yeah, they didn't tell me.
Sorry. March 22nd, get your team signed up, teams of 4 to 6. We're at Unwind this year. We've got a lot of new things planned, and it's going to be a really awesome event, bigger and better, and a lot of fun that you will not want to miss out on. So,
and I think you said signups are going pretty good for that.
Yeah, we've already got 15 teams signed up,
yep,
which puts us, I think, ahead of pace. The goal is to get at least 25, and we decided who we're donating to.
Yeah, we did decide who we're donating to. It's and I don't want to mess up their name, so it's the Highland Fire Department Ladies Auxiliary.
And I was informed it's not just Ladies Auxiliary.
Oh, okay, it's just the auxiliary. Okay, see, and that's why I wasn't sure. So yes, we have that lined up, and this group, I can't call them ladies anymore, but this group is a big help to our volunteer fire department in assisting them with things that they need, as well as anybody who is affected by a fire. So we will get more information out to everybody on all the awesome things that they do. But yes, they are going to be the recipients of the proceeds, and they are super excited because they want to help us to make this event bigger and better. So,
yeah, super excited. So I think it's gonna be awesome with live music afterwards and everything going on at Unwind. Brandy's doing a great job getting everything together.
Yep, so there's going to be food there. She's got
food trucks.
Yep, food trucks, at least 2 at this point. So it's going to be a fun day.
We just signed up 5 more people because we said food trucks.
Really?
I don't know. People love food trucks. I don't get it.
I don't know that I've never even been to a food truck, so I'm excited to try this out.
When you say food trucks to certain people, their ears just perk up, and
mine do.
You know,
see, there we go.
There's some good Hallmark movies about food
earlier.
Trucks.
At 8 o'clock, I said food truck. Like, well, what are we gonna eat? And I said food trucks. They're like, oh, well, we're in. It's like, okay. So yeah, food trucks. Doesn't even matter who they are.
All right, you heard it here first. Get signed up so you can eat at the food truck.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. Well, anyways,
you can eat there anyway.
Let's talk about what we're going to do with this stress eating.
Yes. And one of the biggest things that we took away from that first one is that we know that stress is unavoidable and we got to eat, right? So now what are the steps that we're going to take, or what are some strategies that we've used to help us overcome stress eating? Because as Jeff and I discussed, we could have come up with like a million reasons.
Yes.
And ones that we've all experienced.
Speaking of stress, it stressed Tina out that I couldn't think of my second point today. And she was stressing. And luckily, I did think of it.
Look at that.
Good.
So,
I think, why don't you kick us off then? Because you have 2 really good points that you wanted to make about managing stress eating.
Yeah. So once you've identified the fact that you do stress eat, so now it's a matter of, okay, it's great that I know that. What do I do with this information that I have for myself? And my first one is, how can I change my environment? What around me, just makes it so easy to stress eat. So many people, I talked to somebody the other day. They have M&Ms that just sit in a bowl sitting on their countertop. Like, what easier snack is there that's already sitting out? Apparently don't go bad if they sit out. And you just walk by and grab, and you have no clue that it even just happened, that you just ate half a bowl of M&Ms. And till now, now that you're aware of this happening, so now it's changed my environment. Don't having a bowl of M&Ms just sitting in front of you.
Maybe a bowl of fruit.
Bowl of fruit would be a great adjustment.
That actually tags on to my fourth thing here, replacing those emotional eatings with positive behaviors.
But like, yeah, M&Ms, I don't like M&Ms, but I do like peanut M&Ms. And it actually reminds me, 2 weeks ago, I was at somebody's house and they had a damn bowl of peanut M&Ms and I kept grabbing them. And I haven't had peanut M&Ms in 5 years probably, but I had probably a bag of them.
I think we can all
Frank's house. So
I think we can all agree that having candy in a visible site in your home that you can just easily grab and have with you is
not really what you want.
It cannot work out well if you have certain goals.
Yeah. So that would be, just one example, but there's lots of other environmental changes that you can make. Just what is in your house at all? Like, are there certain things that if, out of sight is out of mind for a lot of people?
And inside is in mind. So setting up your environment is maybe not just not having things that you shouldn't or, that you don't want to have that aren't going to align with what you want to do, but making sure that you have the things that do.
Yeah. And I'm going to even go to because I don't want to act like my house is just like this perfect scenario. I like to have a ski every now and then, but the process for me to have one is more challenging than just open up the fridge and take one. It doesn't sit in our main fridge. I have to go out into the garage to get one. And then I only like it if it's like really, really cold. So not only I have to go out to the garage, grab it, throw it in the freezer for a certain amount of time, and then remember to pull it out because it might be frozen by the time I get to it. But it's a whole process, and there's a lot of time for me to digest, do I actually want it? And you'd be surprised how many times, I didn't even really want it. By the time I go through all that, it's it ends up not even happening. So I'm able to, but the times I do, I was like, oh yeah, I probably really did want that at that time. So it took a process. I had to think about it. I had to digest it. And then it was a conscious choice versus this thing that just happened. I had no idea. Like when people stop at the gas station, get a 44-ounce ski, it sits on their desk all day and they just sip on it and it disappears. Like, where the hell did it go? So that's kind of my main example. Hopefully that's a good one.
It is a good one.
Of how we can change our environment or just changing the scenario of how things are done to get to something.
Yeah. And something I picked up in there and what you said too is giving yourself time to, it's not that you were planning not to have it, but letting some time pass in between the initial urge or craving for something, giving yourself space to just be like, do I actually want this, right? Like you kind of went through that process too, not just putting it in the freezer. Like you could just end up with a frozen soda that explodes.
Yeah.
You don't even have, that's what I mean. You're like, oh yeah, I put that soda in there. And it's like, well, now I'm not going to have it anymore. But that could be another tip is to just let some time pass in between the initial urge. And I remember something you told me this, 10 years ago, but you had told me, you're like, Tina, if you're not, and you weren't using apples as a specific example, like you have to always eat apples, but you're like, are you hungry for an apple too? Or are you just hungry for this specific food? And if the answer is no, then maybe check in if you need something else, right? Like if I'm having all of a sudden this sudden urge, craving, stress driven, and it's like,
that was just like a cue for hungry. Like you're just saying I'm hungry. And if you're not hungry for an apple or fruit or anything like that.
But I've used that with stress eating too, because then when I'm finding I might be driven to wanting something that's not an apple. Like an apple is the last thing I want. I want something sweet or salty or heavier. Like, hey, check in with myself. Do you want that apple right now? Because if the answer is no, maybe you actually need to check in what you're really after. And it might not even be food.
Yeah, no, that's perfect.
That makes sense.
I've even taken a few moments at that time and written down some things to see it visually on paper. Like what's going on in my mind? Why am I stressed? What am I looking for here? Mm-hmm. And I found that writing it down helps.
Yes.
I have not tried that one.
I think that just goes a step further than what we were talking about with the pause. Like now you're like, we like to write, getting out something and saying like, do I, what's going on here? Like getting a sentence down or two and saying, what do I need? Mm-hmm.
And then I'll have a glass of water, and by the time there, you've given 10, 15 minutes have gone by. And then maybe your mind is shifted in a different direction.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'll go into my second one.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear it. Maybe I did or didn't. I don't know.
What was it again?
I don't know.
I'm just kidding. It is What time are you eating?
I don't think we talked about it, so this is
So-
new, brand new.
I think we did. But anyways, you probably weren't listening.
Probably not.
I eat, for me personally, I eat on a pretty regular schedule. Like, boom, boom, boom. This time I'm eating this. This time I'm eating lunch. This time, as soon as I walk in the door, I'm eating dinner when I get home at night, having my snacks. So if I'm finding myself eating off that schedule, chances are there's a reason why. And it's, again, stress is causing me to, let me go take a peek in the pantry for some odd reason at 2:42 in the afternoon or whatever time that I would never eat. So that's my big thing, in an easy way to identify is like, what time of day is it right now? Do I normally eat this time? So this kind of goes back to last time, identifying it. Am I eating at a really random time? So, okay. Why am I here? How did I get here? And am I trying to step away from something? Am I getting away from work? What am I avoiding that's leading me to this spot of eating sporadically? So, and like I said, usually it's never anything, not in there searching for the fruit, searching for something else. So that makes it easy to identify and get me back on course. Like, you're get out of here, close the door.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that helps you guys at all or triggers anything for you to.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely something I can say, that when stress eating is involved, that it's definitely not on a scheduled, like, it's not my normal routine. How about that?
Yeah.
Like, I can totally be like, you just either ate lunch or you just ate dinner or whatever. Like, you just had breakfast. Like, what's going on? And, for me, I can say that that hits me more in the mid-afternoon slump, as people like to call it. That's when and that's just because it's accumulation of the day getting longer and more things piling up, or the things that you had planned to do didn't get done. And then that's where I can totally be like, yeah, you're not hungry, you're stressed right now because you're thinking about X, Y, and Z versus what you actually need, which is maybe just to take a step back, pause, and regroup. What am I getting ready to do? Which for me, I talked about this a couple weeks ago too, was my biggest thing is if I have a plan ready for the day, especially on what I'm eating, I can guarantee that I am going to be successful 99% of the time, because I know exactly what's happening next. So the times where I found that stress eating can really creep in for me is when I am operating in a little bit of chaos and I'm not prepared. And that's one of the biggest things that I work with people on, is making a plan to be prepared. Like, in anything in life, if you have a plan and you're prepared, I can guarantee you that the success rate is going to go up.
Yeah. I mean, the anxiety of everything goes down when
Correct.
we know what's going to happen. I mean,
Correct.
Lots of anxiety comes from the unknown.
Yeah, and I know it seems like a daunting task to plan out nutrition, everything you're going to eat every day. But once you come up with a really, good strategy to do that, and I'm guessing we're going to do something like this.
We just might. You'll have to sign up and find out.
We just might be doing something like this in the Nutrition Summit, but just having a plan and being aware of how to create a plan it's no longer stressful, it's helpful, and it's helping you, not only, show up better in your everything in your day, but now your nutrition is in there too. And it just makes it easier to skip that stress part, because you're like, yeah, I already know, it's 3:00, where's my snack? I'm not going to go stand in front of my refrigerator, then in front of my pantry. Has anybody ever done that? You walk back and forth and you're like, did a chocolate cake just pop in my fridge while I walked away? It's like, no, I know what I'm having, so I'm no longer searching for that thing that really isn't even what I'm looking for. It's not food.
Yeah. It's not going to magically pop up. Yeah, I've done that a bunch, actually. Or especially like when I go to like my mom's house or somebody else's house, I peek around in their fridge. Like,
hoping something grows.
Okay, I don't know what's going to be in there. Like something like unexpectedly, but good. Rarely do I find it.
I do that at my parents' house too. Did they make something really good?
Like what could possibly, like, sorry, Mom, but you never really made that great a meal.
I guess you need a bowl of M&M's sitting there.
Maybe something changed since I moved out and she started cooking all this good food.
Oh, that's funny.
So, yeah. But I mean, even that goes back to the time thing, like in prepping, and I think even that maybe even be a little daunting for people, like planning and prepping food. Like, oh God, that is so stressful.
Don't overcomplicate it.
Exactly, and that's why I said that. It just sounds like it is. Once you have a strategy, and it works for you, then it actually becomes easier, and it makes everything easier.
Yeah, I mean, for us, I'll give you a quick little strategy that we use is we buy the same foods every week. What we do with those foods is different.
We're pretty well the same.
So now we buy the same ingredients. Probably 80% of the food is the same every single week. The times we eat are the same. So now it's just what are we doing that's slightly different with it, and it's a lot less overwhelming once you have your ingredients, you have your time. Okay, now we just got to kind of put something together.
See, and ours is very similar to that, although our times are not the same because kids' schedules in the evenings keep us going, but we have the plans like Tina talked about, and then we've always got a couple of backup plans because things are always going to go sideways because somebody's going to be late from practice or, somebody's got homework or things are going to go sideways, but there's always a backup plan, a better option backup that we can go to so we're not turning to those unwanted items.
Yes.
So do you guys have any? What else do we got? I gave you my two. Does anybody else have anything? You got
my biggest one was the planning and preparing, and then dealing with the stress, which we kind of touched on too, with stopping and pausing, and that's just a great strategy to use. Is with it in the identifying like when it's getting ready to happen and practicing stopping it. Right. And when I say practice, that's exactly the word I'm using is practice. We're not perfect here. Stress is going to still pop up. If a couple weeks ago you started identifying times, now you can practice using one of the strategies we talk about today. Perhaps you can reduce the amount of times it occurs. Right. And that's the ultimate goal is to reduce the frequency of stress eating happening because we're human. It might happen.
Yeah, it will happen.
I'll take out the word might. It's going to happen.
It will happen. So, Josh, any last parting shots?
No, I think we covered it pretty good.
So, yeah, good luck. So, identify your stress and then figure out what are you going to do to change it. Change your environment, change the times or stay on time, plan your meals better. And